Hi, Mr. DeCrane again with the third and last part of my video series on linear programming. This is where we're actually going to solve a problem. And I'm going to work on the wickets problem that we've been talking about in class. In particular, it was on the homework the other night. And so let's go through this one, and I'm going to try and put my student hat on and talk about this problem like I've never read it before, and what are some strategies that I use to try and figure out something that I'm unfamiliar with when I'm doing a linear programming problem. So here we go. First, I'm going to read the problem. Worldwide Wickets makes two kinds of wickets, deluxe and standard. Standard wickets are sold for $30 and deluxe wickets are sold for $50. The company wants to make at least 15 wickets each week. The wicket making process uses two machines, a grinder and a smoother. Each machine can be run for at most 80 hours a week. Each standard wicket needs 2 hours in the grinder and 4 hours in the smoother. Each deluxe wicket needs 4 hours on the grinder and 3 hours on the smoother. How many of each type of wickets should the company make to maximize their sales? Geez, the first question I have is, what the heck is a wicket? Well, I suppose that doesn't matter so much in terms of this. DeCrane said it was just this made-up generic thing. So let's take a look at all the information I got here. Where do I start? Well, if I'm not sure where to start, maybe I should start with the question. What am I being asked to find? So as I look at the end here, the question is, how many of each type of wicket should the company make to maximize their sales? So I got a couple of pieces of information out of that question. Number one, I'm asking about the types of wickets and how many of each type. And the second thing I'm getting out of that question is I want to maximize the sales. So let's read the problem again and see what I can understand first about the types of wickets. What kind of type of wickets are there? Oh, Worldwide Wickets makes two kinds of wickets, deluxe and standard. And I want to know how many of each type I should make. Well, that sounds like a good job for a variable. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say let x equal the number of standard wickets, because I want to know that. And I'm going to let y equal the number of deluxe wickets. And the question also asked about sales, so I've got to think about sales. There's this line in here, standard wickets are sold for $30 and deluxe wickets are sold for $50. So that's my information about sales. You know what, I'm going to highlight that one in yellow, since that was going right back to the question. Standard wickets are sold for $30 and deluxe wickets are sold for $50. So how many of each type should the company make to maximize their sales? Excuse me. So if they make one standard wicket, they get $30, and one deluxe wicket, they get $50. If they make two of each, they're going to get 60 for the standard wickets and 100 for the deluxe. If they make 5 of each, they make 30 for each of the 5. Oh, that's 30 times 5, that's $150. And 5, oh. So to get the sales, this is an important thing, I think. So my sales are going to be $30 for each standard wicket, and if I multiply that times the number of standard wickets, that's the total standard wickets, the sale price for this total standard wickets. And I have to add that to the total sale price I get for the deluxe wickets. $50 for each one, so if I multiply that by how many I've got, I get the total one. So sales equals 30x plus 50y, and that's the thing I want to maximize. Oh, that looks like that objective function DeCrane was talking about, where it was in terms of x and y, but then it had some unknown quantity. I don't know what the sales are going to be. I want to make sure that's the max. So that's my objective function. I'm going to label that objective function, because that's important to recognize. I'm going to highlight that one in yellow so I keep track that that went with the stuff in yellow, and that's where I want to get to. But I've got to find, on the last time he was talking about objective functions, he was talking about finding values in the feasible region. So I got to find my feasible region. So I better see what else is in this problem. Let me read the rest of it here. The company wants to make at least 15 wickets each week. At least 15. Okay, so they could make 15 standard wickets and no deluxe. Or they could make 10 and 5. It wants to make at least, so they could make more than that. Oh, that's an inequality. I know if they want at least 15 wickets total each week, that I've got to have the standard plus the deluxe. It's got to be at least 15. So I want that sum, all the wickets they make, to be bigger than or equal to 15. So that's that piece. Okay. Now we got all this business about grinders. Let me see that again. The wicket making process uses two machines, a grinder and a smoother. Okay, grinders and smoothers. Each machine can be run for at most 80 hours a week. So get 80 hours on the grinder machine, 80 hours on the smoother machine. Each standard wicket needs 2 hours in the grinder and 4 hours on the smoother. Each deluxe wicket needs 4 hours in the grinder and 3 hours on the smoother. Wait, I gotta think about that again. Each standard wicket takes 2 hours on the grinder. So if I make X standard wickets, the grinder runs for 2X hours. No, yeah, 2X hours on the grinder and 4X hours on the smoother, because that's about standard wickets. And standard wickets is X in the way I wrote it. So let's see. So I'm going to write that down real quick. Standard wickets on the grinder, I need 2X hours, and on the smoother I need 4X hours. Okay. Each deluxe wicket needs 4 hours on the grinder and 3 hours on the smoother. I'm talking about deluxe wickets, so that's Y. I'm going to write down deluxe wickets. Each deluxe wicket needs 4 hours on the grinder. Oh, so if I make Y deluxe wickets, then I need 4Y hours on the grinder and 3 hours on the smoother for each wicket. So that means I need 3Y total hours. Wait a minute. The grinder can't run forever. It can run at most 80 hours a week. At most. So it could be less than 80 hours a week. Oh, so here are the times that I can use the grinder. So I know that 2X plus 4Y has got to be less than or equal to 80. And that's the grinder hours. And here, the smoother hours, I need 4X and 3Y. So I got 4X plus 3Y, and the smoother also runs at most 8 hours a week, so that's got to be less than or equal to 80. That's the smoother hours. So those are two more constraints. I'm going to highlight those in green. I got that one and this one, and that's about hours, and that's coming from at most 80 hours a week, 2 hours and 4 hours. Yeah, okay. So that's all that information. Okay. Oh, there's probably one other thing I should do, right? Wickets are things that I'm making, so I got to have positive numbers. So X has got to be bigger than or equal to 0, and Y has got to be bigger than or equal to 0. And those are my last constraints, because I can't have a negative number of wickets. So there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 constraints I'm working with, and 1 objective function. So when I go to solve this problem, I'm going to have to graph 5 different inequalities, find the feasible region for those 5, find the corners, and then evaluate the objective function. I think I'm going to need another video after all. Okay, bye for now.